Good day, everyone. We are Group E, and we will be discussing the wood and fiber industry. The wood and fiber industry has been around for a long time. It had been used by early humans, still a widely used resource till now. One of the prominent places that took part in the wood and fiber industry is America. From 1607, when English settlers arrived in North America, lumber became essential to the North American economy. The building of ships fueled the need for lumber, and the demand increased largely with the advent of the Industrial Revolution. During the 1830s, the city of Bangor in Maine was the world's biggest shipping port for lumber, with over 8.7 trillion board feet moved out of the area between 1832 and 1888. In the mid-1800s, the process of making paper from wood fiber was established. Before then, paper was produced from rags and other materials. And since then, the wood industry only grew larger. And nowadays, the industry makes up about 4% of the world's economy. Although it may seem to be a small number, it actually means that the industry is worth over $3 trillion worldwide, with the largest contributors being the United States, Mexico, Canada, China, and Brazil. However, the industry also led to several crises. Although wooden fiber is considered a renewable source, it is important to be responsible when harvesting in order to minimize environmental impact. Currently, illegal logging is done all over the world. However, the most affected area is the Amazonian rainforest, where the total value of the illegally harvested wood is estimated to be around $100 billion per year. With pollution and waste being larger issues, as the world population continues to grow, people have gone out of their way to make products that are biodegradable, and most of these products are created from wood. This is a counteraction to using plastic and metal products, which mostly take centuries to degrade naturally.
Intersects with many other critical industries such as logging, wood product manufacturing, and house construction. Currently, some of the biggest companies in the industry today are Weyerhaeuser, Masco, and Georgia Pacific among the numerous international companies within the industry. As one of the most well-known companies in the industry, Weyerhaeuser is a forestry and wood products manufacturing company that operates three major business segments such as timberlands, wood products, and energy and natural resources. As of 2021, they have a revenue of $7.2 billion and a net income of $582 million. They also use byproducts from their wood production to create biofuels such as wood pellets. And recently, they sold their container board packaging and recycling business to the International Paper Company for $6 billion. Masco is a forestry construction and home improvement company which operates 59 production facilities in the United States and an additional 20 facilities across the globe. As of 2021, their revenue and net income has been reported to be $7.3 billion and $680 million respectively. However, compared to other giants in the industry, a greater portion of Masco's revenue comes from its sales of its consumer products rather than the raw material it generates from its land holdings such as timber and wood pulp. They also own Lifestyles Furnishing International, the third largest furniture manufacturer in the United States, as well as owning other large players in the industry such as Henredon, Drexel Heritage, and Maitland Smith. They are one of the most prolific sawn wood suppliers in the world, able to produce over 4,300,000 cubic meters each year. This privately owned company owns over 9 million acres of forest land across the United States, which it uses to manufacture products such as wood pulp, tissues, and packaging materials. Aside from that, they also produce building products such as paper towel dispensers and various chemicals, selling many of their products under different brands such as Angel Soft, Brawny, and Dent Shield. Some notable local companies in the industry are Filtra Timber, Pateco, and the Kawain Collective. As the first FSC chain of custody certified timber trading company in the Philippines, they hope to pioneer a secure and sustainable wood and timber supply for the future. They produce and export products such as flooring, timber logs, soft and hardwood, plywoods, and more, while also actively participating in tree planting and promoting the domestic use and export of sustainably produced Philippine wood products. Pateco is the Pacific Timber Exports Corporation, specializes in producing a wide array of wood-based products like doors, jambs, moldings, and other wooden components. They cater to the various project requirements of real estate developers, architects, contractors, and builders in the Philippines. Currently, they operate 7 company-owned retail outlets in the major Home Depots within Metro Manila and Pampanga, while also supplying to the numerous dealers and distributors in Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. For the Kawayan Collective, although they just opened in April 1, 2019, their company aims to resolve the Philippines' construction industry's high demand for affordable building material by utilizing the full potential of bamboo as a long-lasting and renewable building material. They organize the collection and treatment of bamboo poles for construction grade quality that rivals cement blocks, steels, and imported building materials to elevate bamboo as a sustainable, durable, and beautiful building material for a better home for all Filipinos.
Good day. Today I will be discussing the products for wood and fiber industry. So firstly, for the fiber industry, this has been one of the most exported products in the Philippines that has been not only used to boost its economy but as well as to promote the agenda of using renewable products, that is, abaca fiber. This can be used to lessen the carbon footprint as a substitute for the coniferous pulp used in plastic or PVCs. These types of abaca fibers can produce paper and also be a substitute for plastic or PVC, as I said earlier. Not only this, but this can also create such novelty items like bags and even housewares. From the last picture, the houseware, this is actually a planter that is used to place plants. These items can be currently found in Cultura, which is a popular chain store that is located in a SM, which is a popular shopping center that is located all around the Philippines. Now for the wood industries, it is mostly used for the construction side. However, one of the integral upsides of modern construction would be the use of lumber. It is more known as harvested trees. It can be categorized by either hard or soft wood. As you can see here in the picture, this is what is the harvested. These are turned into planks or boards, as you can see here, and it's because of its versatility, it is used to be utilized for shaping into whatever it is needed. So there are different types of lumber, but for one example is the plastic lumber. This is used for parts of the house like the gardening side, like for benches and other things, which is why it is popular because of its lightweight. The plastic lumber was just the tip of the iceberg as to how revolutionary construction products were created. This resulted into creating hybrids of mixing wood and different products all around. This can be categorized as engineering wood or engineer wood. So here are some examples. Laminar veneer lumber, or known as LVL. This is not so much so as a hybrid, but rather this is sticking together different parts of lumber, which results to a higher tensile strength that, that is higher than the usual lumber. This is commonly used for beams, which is a term to use to further increase the structural integrity of a certain building or a certain house. Next would be the plywood, which is made up of cross-laminated veneer. It is a flat sheet that covers not just the structural integrity, but as you can see here, this is a type of OSB plywood which is commonly used for home interiors or for aesthetic purposes. Next would be the I-joist. These are commonly found when it is used for roofs since this can carry a heavy load. This is not only used for roof construction, but it can be also used as beams as well. It is possible that this is the case because of its structure, that it has a hinge as a flange rather and a web. Next would be the mass timber. This was created to replace concrete and even steel. This innovation causes to use wood for different types of roofs and even higher ceiling buildings. This is a type of mass timber which is called a dowel laminated timber. It is a type of softwood timber which differs in the moisture, which is why it is different from a hardwood timber.
So next is the process flow diagrams of the three main products in the wood and fiber industry. So the first main product is lumber, and the raw materials of making lumber are hardwoods or softwood. Most hardwood trees have leaves which they shed in winter, and hardwood trees includes oaks, maples, walnuts, cherries, and birches. But they also include balsa, which has one of the softest and lightest of all the woods. Softwood trees, on the other hand, have needles instead of leaves, and they do not shed their needles in the winter. Softwood trees include pines, firs, hemlocks, spruces, and redwoods. And the processes: first, the selected trees in the area are visually inspected and marked as being ready to be cut down or felled. Most tree felling is done with gasoline-powered chainsaws, and sometimes, if the terrain is relatively level, Diesel-powered tractors called skidders are used. Then the trucks make their way down the graded road and onto public highways on their way to the lumber mill. Next is the barking and bucking, wherein logs are picked up from the log deck with rubber-tired loaders and are placed on a chain conveyor that brings them into the mill. And in some cases, the outer bark of the log is removed, either with sharp-toothed grinding wheels or with a jet of high-pressure water, while the log is slowly rotated about its long axis. The logs are then carried into the mill on the chain conveyor, where they stop momentarily as a huge circular saw cuts them into predetermined lengths. This process is called bucking, and the saw is called the bucking saw. Next is the sawing. The log has a diameter larger than 2 to 3 feet. It is tipped off the conveyor and clamped onto a movable carriage that slides lengthwise on a set of rails. Optical sensors scan the log and determine its diameter at each end, its length, and any visible defects. The Hedwig sawyer sits in an enclosed booth next to a large vertical bandsaw called the Hedwig saw, and the carriage is returned to its original position and the log is shifted sideways. Next is the band sawing, wherein smaller diameter logs are fed through a series of bandsaws that cut them into nominal 1-inch, 2-inch, or 4-inch thick pieces in one pass. Then there is sawing, wherein the large cut pieces from the Hedwig saw called cants are laid flat and moved by a chain conveyor to multiple blade bandsaws, where they are cut into required widths and the outside edges are trimmed square. Next is the drying or seasoning. The cut or trimmed pieces of lumber are then moved to an area to be dried or seasoned. This is necessary to prevent decay and permit the wood to shrink as it dries out. Then the planing commences. The dried pieces of lumber are passed through planes, rotating cutting head trims the pieces to their final dimension and smooth all four surfaces and around the edges. Lastly, the grade and stamping and banding. Each pieces of lumber is visually or mechanically inspected and graded according to the amount of defects present, and the grade is stamped on each piece along with the information about the moisture content and a mill identification number. The lumber is then bundled according to the type of wood, grade, and moisture content, and the bundle is secured with steel bands. The bundle is loaded on a truck or train and shipped to a lumber yard for resale to customers. And the byproducts are shavings, sawdust, chips, and bark. The last main product is yarn, and the raw materials are cotton or natural fibers. In making yarns, about 15 different types of fibers are used. These fibers fall into two categories, natural and synthetic. Natural fibers are those that are obtained from a plant or an animal and are mainly used in weaving textiles. The most abundant and commonly used plant fiber is cotton, and gathered from cotton ball or seed pod when it's mature. And the processes involved are first is preparing the fibers, and fibers are shipped in bales which are opened by hand or machine. Next is the carding. The carding machine is set with hundreds of fine wires that are separated the fibers and pull them into somewhat a parallel form. A thin web of fiber is formed, and as it moves along, it passes through a funnel-shaped device that produces a rope-like strand of parallel fibers. And blending can take place by joining laps of different fibers. The third step is the combing. When a smoother, finer yarn is required, fibers are subjected to a further paralleling method, and a comb-like device arranges the fibers into a parallel form with short fibers falling out of the strand. Then drawing out. After carding or combing, the fiber mass is referred to as the sliver, and several slivers are combined before this process. A series of rollers rotating at different rates of speed elongate the sliver into a single, more uniform strand that is given a small amount of twist and fed into large cans. And carded slivers are drawn twice after carding. Comb slivers are drawn out once before combing and twice more after combing. Then the twisting. The sliver is then fed through a machine called the roving frame where the strands of fiber are further elongated and given additional twist. And these strands are called the roving. Spinning. The predominant commercial systems of yarn formation are ring spinning and open-end spinning. And in ring spinning, the roving is fed from the spool through rollers, and these rollers elongate the roving, which passes through the eyelet, moving down and through the traveler. Traveler moves freely around the stationary ring at 4,000 to 12,000 revolutions per minute.
The wood that are removed, felled, or harvested are called roundwood. With the total industrial roundwood globally produced in 2019, it amounted to 2,025,000,000 cubic meters. This was the second highest production since the start of the 21st century, after reaching the highest total industrial roundwood production in 2018. For the global production of sawnwood in 2018, it totaled to 493 million cubic meters, which was 2.2% higher than in 2017 and 13% higher than in 2014. This trend is largely due to the increase in production in Europe, accounting for 35%, and Asia Pacific by 31% from the global production of sawnwood. In 2018, global wood-based panel production reached 408 million cubic meters. Wood-based panels was the product category that saw fast growth in the production owing to the rapid and consistent growth in the Asia-Pacific region until 2016. In later years, global production has stabilized wherein Asia-Pacific region accounted for 61% of global production in 2018. Paper and paperboard production increased over the period from 404 million tons to 409 million tons. Almost all of these fluctuations were due to the changes in the Asia-Pacific region, in which production dropped by 3% in 2018. Europe and Latin America and the Caribbean saw an increase of 2% and 9%, while North America and Africa recorded a decline of 3% and 14% respectively. Global production of fiber furnish in 2018 amounted to 421 million tons, which was only 2% above 2014. Production in Asia-Pacific region, Europe, North America, and Africa remained roughly the same over the period from 2014 to 2018. In contrast, production in Latin America and the Caribbean has grown consistently over the period. Production in this region grew by 15% from 2014 to 2018 as new pulp mills came into operation in South America. The future of wood-based industries depends largely on the success of industrial tree plantations. Industrial rubber production in the Philippines has been stagnantly increasing but also fluctuating over the period of time. In 2019, the Philippines was recorded to produce 3.98 million cubic meters, wherein Caraga region is considered the leading producer of timber in the country, covering 684,000 hectares of forest lands in Agusan del Sur, Agusan del Norte, Surigao del Sur, and Surigao del Norte. Out of this national demand for wood, only 25% comes from local sources, while 75% are imported, wherein in 2015, Philippine imports wood from top partner countries such as China, United States, Indonesia, Malaysia, and Japan. While for the Philippines exportation, by far, Japanese importers paid the highest amount of dollars for timber and related wood items exported from the Philippines in 2018. Together with the 9 other countries below, the following top 10 international buyers accounted for 98.2% of overall wood shipped from the Philippines.
In addition to Mr. Pantaleon said, I'm going to discuss about the top producing countries in the wood and fiber industry. These data shown are from the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations in 2018. In the first figure, it shows the industrial roundwood production of the top 5 countries from 2012 to 2016. The United States is by far the largest producer in the world with about 357 cubic meter in 2016. The production in Russia and Canada has increased, while the production in China and Brazil has declined in 2015 but recovered in 2016. Together, these countries produce 1.02 billion cubic meter in 2016 and account for 55% of the total global industrial roundwood production. Then, in the second figure, it shows that the United States has the largest production, reaching about 78 million cubic meter in 2016. China's production rose by 39% from approximately 56 million cubic meter in 2012 to 77 million cubic meter in 2016. Russia's production also increased and reached about 37 million cubic meter in 2016. Germany's production remained relatively stable over the period. Together, they produced 264 million cubic meter or 56% of the global sawnwood production. Then, in the third figure, it shows that China alone accounted for 51% of global production in 2016. As you can see, China has the largest increase in production from approximately 149 million cubic meter in 2012 to 211 million cubic meter in 2016. Together, they produce about 287 million cubic meter or 69% of global wood-based panel production. Then, in the fourth figure, it shows that the furnish production and export has been increasing consistently in Brazil, while production in the United States, China, Japan, and Canada remained the same or has a slightly declined over the period.
Together, they produce approximately 240 million tons, or 15% of the global fiber furnish production in 2016. Lastly, in the 50 year, shows that the two largest paper and paperboard producers in 2016 were China, with about 113 million tons, and the United States with 72 million tons. Their combined production accounted for 45% of global production. This is the end of the group's video report for the wood and fiber industry. Thank you for listening, and we hope that you have learned something. Be safe, everyone.